Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, first today, government whips are in overdrive as the EU withdrawal bill comes back from the Lords into the Commons next week, Tuesday being a key day. The debate, the amendments and the vote, they're all going to take place in a 12-hour marathon session, all crammed into Tuesday. The Labour Party has announced that they'll table an amendment seeking full access to the EU's single market. The Shadow Brexit Secretary, Keir Starmer, spoke to the BBC this morning.
Full access to the internal market means the benefits of the single market, which has always been the Labour Party position. Obviously that comes with obligations, and that's why we've said it has to be underpinned by shared institutions and shared regulations.
And then McDonald, full access to the single market post-Brexit. In what way would it differ from what we have at the moment?
Well, there wouldn't be freedom of movement. That's a key element. But we want to get as close as we possibly can to where we are at the moment. That's the whole object of the exercise.
And why would the EU agree to giving us full access, your party's words, without one of the key conditions, which is free movement of people?
Well, that's the negotiation, Andrew, and that's what we're setting out.
But they've already made it clear that's not on right at the start. They called that cherry picking, having your cake and eating it.
I understand that, but I think if we have that as an adopted position, it gives us that starting point for that negotiation. Where we currently are is just a hapless and hopeless
Well, this
position.
might be pretty hopeless too. Would there be, under full access, would there be also free movement of capital?
Yeah, we're talking about the only freedom of movement we're talking about that doesn't exist, it comes to an end, is the freedom of movement of labour. And that requires a new immigration relationship and a new policy.
So under full access, free movement of capital would continue?
Well, that's for negotiation. I think that's got to be an objective.
I'm asking you, what would your party's position be going into these negotiations? Would you have free movement of capital?
Indeed, yes. You would.
So you would give up the right to introduce capital controls?
Andrew, we are starting on this process. We've tabled that amendment for Tuesday. How that develops thereafter, but if that can be adopted as a sensible strategic position, then I think all of those details are up for negotiation with the EU as we go forward. This gives us a good platform. Would
you accept, as part of full access, the existing rules limiting state aid to industry and subsidies to industries?
We want the freedoms to deal with our industries and subsidise, as you describe it, in the way that we see fit. We do not want to be restricted in that way. So let's have it right, because we've had
let's get this right. You're wanting full access, the same access as we have now, but you won't give free movement, and you want the right to have your own state aid and subsidy rules.
Well, let's just examine that. Look what happened with my steel plant at Redcar, when it could have continued. I went across to Italy and saw how the Italian government looked after their steel industry within the EU, subject to state aid rules. I saw how the French did it at Florange and how it was done in Germany. Now, all we'd have to do is adopt those sorts of provisions, those interventions that the European Union can make now. We should use the powers that we have now.
So you would put your state aid rules would be subject to approval by Brussels?
Well, no, we are saying that we'll copy what the French and the Italians and Germans.
Well, they're subject to the same. They may have done it in a different way, but they're subject to the same state aid rules as we are, and the same subsidy rules. It seems to me you want the full access, but none of the responsibilities and the rules and regulations that go with it.
No, we want the same treatment for our core industries as the Italians have meted out to their own industry. They wouldn't see a core industry go down the tubes and 20,000 people at the Ilva plant be out of work and be reliant upon benefits. They took that decision.
But the Italian steel industry has lost tens of thousands of workers in the past 30 years. Well, tens of thousands.
As every steel industry has
Exactly.
across the Western world. But you don't reduce it beyond a core base because you undermine your manufacturing industries.
Let me just get this free. So, in return for full access, you're not going to agree to free movement of people, you're not sure about free movement of capital, and you want your own state aid and subsidy regime. You think the Europeans are mad? You think they're going to give you any of that?
I tell you what, Andrew, I think if the Europeans could see this amendment passed by the British Parliament, there would be a sensible conversation about the future relationship. Well, I have every confidence that it will.
It's not going to pass because you're not going to vote. You're not going to vote for the EEA amendment, the one that's coming from the Lords.
No, we're not.
Your party said that, so that will fall. And even Tory rebels aren't going to vote for your amendment, so they'll both fall.
Well, let's see. The whole point of having a vote, it's like going to a football match and predicting the outcome, Andrew. You've got to watch the full 90 minutes.
It's true, but it's a bit like going to a football match when it's Manchester United against Tranmere Rovers. Let's come on to the government position. The White Paper, laying out our position for the trade, post-Brexit trade relationship. When will it be published?
In due course. And in good time. We don't have a specific date.
Why?
But we will have, because it's being worked up at the moment. And the important thing, Andrew, is that it will be, as you suggested, a very detailed document that will set out the nature of our future relationship.
We're only a couple of weeks away from the European summit that's meant to take some crucial decisions.
Well,
will it be published in time for that?
We will certainly be ready for the June summit, which is at the end of June. In order to be in a very clear position with our
hold on. The white paper will be published in time for the June summit.
I don't have a date, but the white paper will come out and it will be very detailed on what our future relationship is. And
we know what we think it will come out. No, I think it's important.
We will be in a position of knowing where we are.
Is the government prepared to go into this crucial June summit without publishing the white paper that lays down the British negotiating position?
Right. I don't know personally.
You don't know
exactly? No. When the white
paper
will be
Treasury, and you don't know.
Yeah, and it will be for Number 10 and others to decide exactly when that paper comes forward. But the point that I'm making, though, is that when we get towards the end of June and the summit, we will be in a position where we have a clear set of negotiating.
Well, you can't be in a clear position unless you publish the white paper.
Covered in the white paper. So
you can't be in a position unless you publish the white paper. But I put it to you: you cannot publish the white paper just on the eve of the summit. I'm told it's over 150 pages long. You can't just land that on the EU's table. They need time to absorb it.
We are in constant discussions on the negotiation with the EU 27, and we will be in a position at the time of the EU Council meeting in the end of June, whereby our position is very clear.
How can you make your
position?
Hold on, Minister. How can you make the position? No. The paper's important. It's the British government's position. How can you be very clear on our negotiating position to the June summit if you haven't published the white paper, which is our negotiating position?
I'm not ruling in or out when exactly this white paper will appear. And as I say, I don't know the precise date, but what I do know, and I'm absolutely confident of, is that at the point that we reach the June summit, we will, of course, have engaged with the EU 27. They will be clear exactly as to what our position is going forward in terms of...
In what way if it's not the white paper, how do you make it clear?
Well, we're in constant discussions, constant negotiations with the EU 27. This idea that it all hinges on a particular document is...
When did David Davis last see Mr. Barnier?
I don't know the answer to that because I'm not in his department and I'm not part of the negotiating team.
Isn't it the case that because you haven't yet made up your minds, and the white paper is now going through its 5th rewriting, and that may not be the end of it, that you're going to have to ask the EU at the summit in June, at the end of this month, there is a backstop to get you through to apply the Northern Ireland backstop, which is in the customs union, in the single market for goods, apply that to the whole of the UK?
Well, no. What the Prime Minister has made very clear is that we have two groups looking at two particular models for our customs arrangements going forward. and they are the new customs partnership and the Max Fax.
And you haven't chosen which one yet.
And we will do, of course, in the course of time, we will do that. It's very important that we get these complicated decisions where you have to balance a number of different issues around each one of them to make sure that we come up with the right solution, and that's what we're doing.
Well, right, but you haven't yet. So,
that.
and if you haven't by the summit, do you deny that you will have to fall back on saying to Europe, let's have as a backstop the Northern Ireland backstop, but let it apply to the whole of the UK. So as a backstop, we would stay in the customs union and we'd stay in the single market for goods.
Right. I'm confident that we will have resolved where we are going to be on customs and those kind of issues in time, good time for the negotiation. Now remember, Andrew, that
in time for the summit?
When it came to the divorce bill, people told us that this was impossible.
We've heard all that, Minister.
When they told us about the implementation period, they told us that was impossible.
Are you saying...
And it wasn't. We got there.
Are you saying
in February
that your policy towards the customs union and the single market will be ready to present to the summit of the EU at the end of this month?
We will be in a position to make appropriate progress at the June summit. I am not. Look,
that wasn't my question.
Well,
my question was: are you in a position, or will? Because if you're not, you will have to ask for this Northern Ireland backstop.
The Prime Minister has very clearly set out. We have these two groups. We have these two models that we are assessing at the moment. I'm absolutely confident that we will come to a conclusion on that in a timely manner, and that just with the other issues. And I know you dismissed them.
In time for the
people
summit.
told us we couldn't do various other things.
No, you've gone through all that.
Well,
I'm asking you: will you have decided on the customs union option and our relationship with the single market in time for the summit at the end of the month? Yes or no?
We anticipate being in a position where we're able to meaningfully negotiate on these matters by the time of the June summit at the end of June.
That's just awful, isn't it?
No, that is a statement of our position.
Well, the answer would be yes or no.
Well, the position
is it yes.
The position is that we will be in a position at the time.
The position is that you'll be in a position
of the June summit where we have a clear way forward that we are discussing with the European Union. Now, you're pivoting me onto issues about when a particular document's coming out and whether it's
not a particular document. It's the key document.
The reality is that we we will be in a position to have a meaningful negotiation around.
I think we've got as far as we can this morning, Minister. I think we'll leave it there.
I've been getting